15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everyone, for another episode of Americans Talk FPL. On this video, we'll be having our Game Week 6 preview. We'll be talking a bit about our teams. I had a real successful wild card, and Jason, I think you got a green arrow too. Nice big one.
Yeah, a nice non-wildcard green arrow, so I still have that in my back pocket. It's always good to have.
Yeah, and then we'll also be talking about our watch list. Some of our key focus players, and a little bit of the schedule and our final recommendations and key points. If you guys like the content, please give us a like, subscribe. Comments are always welcomed. Comments about questions, we'll be willing to answer them, and then comments about our teams as well is also welcome too. Before we move on, just want to quickly shout out Fantasy Football Scout. We are part of their academy. Check out their website in the links. All our stats are taken from their website. So if you want to be a member and check out some key stats that are pretty much essential for those that really want to get those big green arrows, I would recommend their members site, right, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're in that, at least many times a week, researching, reviewing, trying to get a little leg up on the opponent. So I absolutely recommend that.
In addition to that, we just started playing UCL Fantasy. The season just started. Check out our videos on that. We plan to have content for each match day and the rounds after. Jason, how was your Champions Fantasy been?
Yeah, I think overall Champions League Fantasy has been a lot of fun. I got 74 points in this first week. Not too bad, I thought, with my Messi captainship. I highly recommend everyone to play it. It's a pretty different game from the Fantasy Premier League, so it's definitely a nice little, I wouldn't say sideshow, but it's something different to kind of enjoy the midweek games with. I think it's a lot of fun, and if you're struggling in Fantasy Premier League or doing well and just want to keep the good times rolling, I would invest in this and check it out.
For sure. I had a very difficult start to my Champions League Fantasy, but all good. Fun to play. Shout out Ansu Fati, really helping me out big time.
Yeah, big game.
All right. Let's go on to the Game Week 5 week recap. I'll start it off by the big Merseyside Derby. Huge decisions, very controversial ref decisions. Van Dijk is likely out with an ACL tear, likely out for the season. In addition, DCL, James, Salah, Mane, we all saw them have big returns. I want to also really shout out Salah and specifically Mane too. He looks to be a great option for fantasy that people kind of are forgetting about or sleeping on, you could say. He had 10 penalty touches, so someone you should definitely keep an eye on. Next, we'll talk about Chelsea and the Germans. Timo Werner finally with the brace, finally with the goals, and then he also had a goal ruled out. Kai Havertz also with a goal as well. Ings and then Che Adams finally off the scores, off the marks there with a goal. Something to note would just be Ings, Werner, and Adams all had 3 shots in the box. So real promising stuff from Chelsea and the Germans. Kai Havertz has been consistent He also looked very good in the Champions League today. Next up, City Arsenal. Pretty disappointing games in terms of fantasy points and kind of results. Pretty minimal, only a 1-0 game. Aubameyang, he had 0 shots. Really interesting, 0 goal attempts. Kun Aguero made his return, but he was subbed off. Raheem with the goal but only 1 shot on the box. Foden, a bit promising. He did have 2 big chances. Next, we'll move on to Manchester United. Big returns late. Big shout out to Rashford. He really helped out my team. He had 2 assists and a goal, 16 penalty touches. Also, big shout out to Bruno Fernandes. 5 shots in the box, or 2 shots in the box for Bruno, 5 shots in the box for Rashford. And then Bruno also had a big chance created, as well as St. Maximin. Also, you should note with United, it was interesting that Ole made some key decisions with benching Pogba and going with a little bit more holding midfielders, more people that stick to their positions. And because of that, their defense looked solid. They had an own goal, and then in the Champions League too, they looked solid as well defensively. Wan-Bissaka against PSG was absolutely immense, so someone to look out for. Especially, and he also had a goal in the Newcastle game, so someone to definitely keep an eye on if United continue with their good defense. Next, the Fulham game. For me, I thought Lookman looked really promising. He had a nice goal. Brewster came off the bench. Mitrovic with a penalty miss, and he had plenty of shots and chances, but nothing really for him. Jason, any thoughts on these games?
One thing I'll touch on Man United is on their defense. Although he didn't play in the Premier League, Axel Tuanzebe made his debut in the Champions League against PSG, first game in 10 months. And he immediately looked like a starting caliber player. I would maybe look out for him to possibly get more Premier League games going forward. And if he does and continues to play like he did in the Champions League, I think Man United's defense could make a big turnaround because of him.
Mm-hmm. So Man United were one of the best teams in defense last season. I know they had that huge hiccup against Spurs this season, but I'm not going to completely rule them out. I think their attack is elite. Definitely a team you should be considering going further. Their schedule doesn't look good for the next 2 game weeks, but after that, really take a look at some of the options there. The other one thing I just want to quickly mention before you move on, Jason, is this Lookman guy. He's only priced at 5.0. He's on loan from RB Leipzig. He could really be a nice budget option, so keep an eye on that. Now, Jason, tell me a little bit about the games you checked out.
All right, so first up is Crystal Palace versus Brighton. It ended 1-1. Wilfred Zaha once again scored a goal from the penalty spot. I believe that's 4 goals on the season for him now. He's started off very strongly in that regard. Brighton didn't really get any attacking returns from the key fantasy assets. So I think that lack of a clean sheet for both sides kind of scuppered everyone's budget defenders. One thing going forward with Palace, I think watch out for Patrick Van Aanholt returning now. He could displace Tyreek Mitchell, or they could both start together. Maybe Van Aanholt is a left mid with Mitchell retaining the left back spot. Don't really know how it's going to play out, but keep an eye on that because I know a lot of people have Mitchell out there as their budget enabler. Next match. So Tottenham obviously came out absolutely on fire. Son had a goal. Kane had 2 goals. They both assisted. Gareth Bale made his debut and almost scored a great goal as well. They were just cruising, creating at will. Then all of a sudden at the end, West Ham just made an epic comeback, scoring 3 goals in the final 10 minutes. David Moyes was out dancing and hopping on the field in a pretty funny little show there. But yeah, I could not believe that match. I think the key there is Spurs attack is still on fire. I really want to invest as much as I can there. West Ham, I think, is pretty legit. They've had a very tough schedule, but I do like their assets going forward as well. Spurs defense, I'm still a little hesitant on. I thought they were on their way to a clean sheet, and then obviously that ended not the way they had expected. Moving on, Aston Villa blanked Leicester 1-0 and stayed undefeated. Ross Barkley on the score sheet again. Villa have some pretty nice fixtures coming up, and they're in great form. They have assets at both ends of the pitch that I think warrant investment right now. West Brom and Burnley. I mean, I had that game on in the background, but I just could not get invested in that. It was just boring. I'm sorry. 0-0. I think that's the big news there is Nick Pope got a clean sheet, made a ton of saves. He got max bonus. Tarkowski's back in Burnley center defense. Got them a clean sheet. So maybe they're back to their more clean sheet ways while they were a little leaky earlier in the season. Lastly, Wolves beat Leeds 1-0. Raul Jimenez scored on a massive deflection, but they all count the same. Got the shutout. Wolves have a key 4.0 defender in Max Kilman, who has played 2 matches in a row, got an assist against Leeds. And if he can keep his place, offers a massive budget appeal. On the other side, Leeds now have Calvin Phillips out for the foreseeable future. And his replacement in midfield is a 4.0 defender, Strike. So I think that's another budget option to keep an eye on right now, as Bielsa says he will be filling in for Phillips as he's out.
Okay, that's a nice one, 4.0 for Lee's defense. The Jimenez deflection goal really hurt me. I had Dallas, and if he would have kept the clean sheet, I would have been over 100 points. So
I think he had max bonus before that, right?
I wasn't looking at the bonuses. I knew he was on a clean sheet though, so that really hurt me. So you kind of mentioned Villa. Tell me a little bit, what is your thoughts on Ross Barkley? What do you think of him as a budget option? Do you think he's good to go for a fantasy?
Yeah, I think so. I want to take a wait and see approach, but he's been shining so far. He's already scored in multiple games. I think just the way Villa's playing and him kind of getting a nice secure attacking role in that team instead of being in and out of the lineup for Chelsea. I think we're going to see more of the Everton Barkley coming out right now.
Yep. I'm definitely going to say he's the good to go for that budget option around that 5.0 price. There are some other players available at that price that are popping up. But if you want Barkley on your team, I would not disagree. Who do you think is Villa's best fantasy option? I know you've got Watkins, Grealish, Barkley.
Yeah, I might go with the one you didn't name, Emiliano Martinez, the goalkeeper.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's up to 4.8 now, so he's not as cheap as he was. But Villa's defense looks very strong. He's making a ton of saves. He looks very good in that net, so I think he might be the top option if I really had to choose one.
Yeah, great answer there. I don't think anyone can disagree on you on that. I think everyone knows this guy is top goalkeeper this season. He's on my team. Good answer there, Jason. Okay, so now let's move on to our squads. I did extremely well this week. I did choose a wild card. I didn't like the way my team was looking. I wanted to make 5 or 6 changes. I brought on Kane and Son to my team. I also welcomed Grealish, and I had Rashford. I think he only had about 5% ownership, I want to say. So that was a big call on me, and he really provided. He looks in top form right now. If you saw what he did to Paris Saint-Germain, that was an excellent goal. And he's also getting plenty of chances. I have downgraded Trent Alexander-Arnold. it's a crazy season. I thought TA was the first name on my team sheet coming into the season, but when Allison is injured and then now Van Dijk is out for the season, I just didn't want to invest just that much in Liverpool defense. And in addition to that, the left Robertson looked more on form than Trent, so I kind of made that decision to help free up some money for the Spurs and Rashford. It came through well. Antonio, unfortunately, he got injured right after West Ham made that push with all the goals. But I still like that was a little bit more of a future pick. Overall, I'm not going to be making really any adjustments this week. I just want to hold my free transfer. Jason, thoughts on my wild card and my team?
Yeah, it looks like you had a pretty nice week there with the wild card.
Of course, yeah. Huge week.
I say the only issue I see here is obviously the Antonio injury going forward. Just how bad is it? Outside of that, Tim, maybe you want to, if you have the money, you could upgrade Douglas to one of the new 4.0 budgets. I don't know if you have 0.1 in the bank or not.
I have about 0.2 in the bank. I don't think I'm going to waste it on defense, though.
Yeah, you're just going to keep the enabler and invest elsewhere.
Yeah. I'm going to go 3 in the back. I like my defenders. Like, when you got Chilwell and Robertson, really you're only just exchanging for one slot.
Yeah, and Dallas is almost set and forget at this point, it seems like.
Perhaps. Yeah, I mean, if it's not, it's either going to be Dallas or Walker Peters for that third slot. So I don't think it's a real, I don't think it's a real issue. The only thing the only thing I'm concerned about is I don't see any Manchester City on my team. Obviously, with KDB injured, we kind of all know Man City are not the same attacking threat, and they don't return as well. But they are one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league. And not to have someone on that team is concerning. But you can't have everyone. You can't have everyone this season.
Yeah, City assets are always going to be expensive too, unless you want to go for a more budget like Foden type option.
Mm-hmm. I'll ask you one question here. I have Marcus Rashford. What do you think of Marcus Rashford as an option at his price point, that 9.5, versus maybe Bruno Fernandes?
I think they're both great values right now. Obviously, United started the season pretty slowly, but Rashford's slowly been getting into form. And with Martial still suspended and him just really hitting top stride right now, I think he's definitely a bargain. He's classed as a midfielder. He's only, 9.5. That's a great option. And Bruno, once again, with United struggling, he's still scoring and assisting almost like every week. It's been insane almost. Mm-hmm. So he hasn't even been in top form yet. Like, I think, real life, actual form, Rashford is more the form pick. But just the fact that Bruno delivers when he's off form and the team's off form just makes you wonder what's going to happen once he gets on form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if it's a straight pick between the two, I go Bruno just because he's on penalties, more free kicks. He's just more of an assured point getter. But Rashford's still pretty explosive and a great differential.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to your team, Jason. Big arrows, green arrow for you as well.
Yeah, I was pretty happy. I went KDB to Son. That was a pretty easy move. Really paid off for me. Keeping the faith with my forward line finally paid off. Timo Werner with a huge match. Same with Che Adams finally delivered. Jimenez got the deflected goal, which kind of bailed him and myself out. Salah captain is it's almost like an easy option. It's always captain Salah. You're probably going to do pretty well throughout the season. Defensively, a little disappointed. Eric Dyer is out now, possibly missing the next match as well. It's tempting to wild card. I just don't have quite enough moves I want to make to really justify it. But I think if I could, Alexander-Arnold would probably be out, and Dyer would probably be out for sure in my defense. Souček, he's a great budget midfielder. I still think with all the chances he gets, he's going to come through sooner or later. It just hasn't fully materialized yet. So I'm not selling on him yet, but I'm starting to lose a little bit of patience.
I say overall your team looks good for non-wildcard team. It's nice to see Timo Werner come through. Jimenez, still has some decent fixtures coming up. Wolves' attack is pretty terrible, but Jimenez is consistent, and he's the guy that's scoring for them. Overall, are you making any moves this week yet? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm going to make one move. I'm debating what to do. I think I'm either going to upgrade Shea Adams to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because I got 3.9 in the bank, or I can do Jimenez to Harry Kane. Those are two options I'm kind of considering right now. I'm kind of leaning towards Calvert-Lewin in for Adams, because Jimenez still has a couple of great fixtures coming up.
You don't know Calvert-Lewin's price right now, right? Is he 7.9, 8?
7.7 last I checked.
7? Oh.
Yep. Yeah, he just offers a lot of value. Everton have pretty good fixtures. So I think I might do that. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. And then in the future, I could upgrade Jimenez to either Kane or even Aguero if Aguero starts hitting the ground and getting 90 minutes in him.
Yeah, I don't think I would take out Jimenez. He still has some good fixtures. He's still the same Jimenez that we always know. The misser, like one goal, maybe two, maybe just one, likely just one goal. But consistent, regardless of who he plays, I think. I like that move to DCL. Shea Adams, he had that goal, but it was like a real easy tap in, man. I really don't know how clinical this guy is. I don't trust him.
Yeah, I think for all the great underlying stats he has, you can just kind of see it like, is he going to deliver on those throughout the season? I'm kind of thinking no. I think he'll always underperform his stats a little bit. I just don't think he's quite good enough. On the flip side, you have a guy like Son who outperforms his peripheral stats just because he's a really good finisher.
Yeah. And then the other thing, too, with that goal was, like, it took, like, 2 mistakes and Kepa in the net.
He's not going to face Kepa every week, so this might be the sell high point for Adams. I got my big game, now I can get out.
Exactly. All right, tell me a little bit what you're seeing in this schedule here, Jason.
All right, so some teams I think have some pretty nice fixtures. We kind of touched them already, but Aston Villa have a pretty great run for a while. That's a great team to invest in right now. Chelsea, I would have said Man United wasn't too bad of a fixture like a week ago, but things have already changed since then, so I think it'll be a little tougher than what I had anticipated.
Now, what do you think Pogba's going to be benched again? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I thought it was interesting at the end of the PSG match, United switched to a 4-4-2, and so they had McTominay and Fred, and then Pogba and Bruno kind of further up in the midfield four, and that worked really well.
I think I didn't watch the game, but I heard Fred was immense. What do you think? Yeah,
he was everywhere for sure. He just brings pure energy to the midfield. That's the kind of thing that's like Pogba and Matic when they start together. There's just not enough industry in the midfield.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Fred and McTominay just run crazy and play the defense and take up good positioning that Pogba just doesn't quite do.
Okay.
But if United want to stick to the they started 3-5-2, or if they want to go 4-4-2, I could see Pogba doing a little better in those because he has more cover behind him. So his kind of lack of running is limited a little bit.
I think this is going to be the main game to watch this week in terms of fantasy, just for Watchlist. People like Pulisic, the Germans, and all the United attack, they're all excellent, could be excellent options, and all definitely high Watchlist players.
Yeah, it's definitely the fixture of the weekend for me. I'm looking forward to that one.
Okay, and then after United, they do have an excellent schedule. Chelsea,
Yep. Yeah, I think I'll be holding Timo Werner through that for sure.
If you have either Werner or Havertz, I'd say hold for sure. And then Chelsea defense, they've been poor, but they did have a clean sheet in the Champions League with Thiago Silva starting. So and Mendy is back too. So maybe the defense could be better now.
And Peter Cech is officially part of the 25-man squad, just in case.
Stop it. That's not a fantasy option, man.
No, but it's pretty funny. Their technical director is in the squad now.
Yeah, it's great. It's great jokes. Crystal Palace, any players you'd consider? I think I asked you this last week.
Yeah, I mean, I think Zaha is always going to be an option. He's still on penalties. He's still in pretty good form. Really, it's more the defense I'm interested in, but with Van Aanholt coming back, it kind of muddies the waters a bit. Mm-hmm. I think Guaita as a keeper is a decent little alternative if you want to kind of go against the grain a little bit. Otherwise, I'm kind of like keeping my eye on Tyreek Mitchell, and also kind of waiting to get an update on Nathan Ferguson when he'll come back. He's another 4.0 defender who, in theory, should start when he returns, but I have not heard an update on his injury recently.
And we kind of already talked about Everton, so we'll just kind of skip that for now. Same with Spurs. I think we've discussed thoroughly. I don't know anything you want to discuss between Wolves, Spurs, or Everton that we haven't talked about before.
I think we hit on all of it as much as we need to.
Yeah, let's move on. Here's a quick look at our watch list. Some new guys would be Kun Aguero. He did have a penalty in the Champions League. It's definitely someone I'm keeping my eye on. But again, with no KDB, Man City attack just isn't as good. Anyone else here? You added Max Kilman, and then you also added Pascal Struijk. Did I say that okay?
Strike? I don't know.
Strike? Okay.
Sure.
Tell me a little about those guys.
Yeah, so Struijk is the guy filling in for Calvin Phillips for Leeds. He's a 4.0 defender. He'll be starting in midfield. I think that's a pretty great option. Don't know how long Phillips will be out, maybe like 6 weeks or so. But I think he'll be a great fill-in for now. And Kilman, his place in Wolves' defense is not entirely sound at this point. But he started 2 matches. He looked great in both. Clean sheets in both and an assist. I think it could be his spot to lose at this point, but Wolves have some injuries right now. When Markel comes back, we'll see how it all fits together. But he's definitely a potentially huge bargain at that 4.0.
Okay, so let's move on to the player spotlight, and you wanted to spotlight Son Heung-min. So tell me about him, Jason.
Yeah, so most people should already know what a player he is and what a season he's having, but I wanted to highlight him anyways. I think it's interesting, his heat map. He's outside of the box for most of his touches, but somehow he just keeps scoring. So how is he doing that? He's number 1 in big chances for midfielders with 7. He's also number 1 for chances created with 16. And the thing that's most impressive is his goal conversion, 58%. That is number 2 amongst all midfielders. I said minimum of 5 attempts for that to kind of weed out all the outliers. So the only player higher than him is Jorginho, who gets most of his from penalties. So I hardly even count that.
Yeah.
So really, Son, he's outperforming all his peripheral metrics like expected goals, expected assists. And I think, like we discussed earlier, he's kind of the inverse of Shea Adams, who always underperforms. Son Heung-min is just so good that he's going to overperform what he's expected to do just because he's such an elite finisher and player.
For sure. Definitely Spurs attack, Kane or Son is a must. Personally, I have both, and it's been working out well, and they've got great schedule going on.
Absolutely.
Okay, so mine's just a little bit different. I know a lot of our viewers are from the United States. We are all very happy to see Pulisic healthy and start, or Pulisic, however you I guess I think Christian prefers Pulisic. Jason and I talked about this earlier.
It's Pulisic.
Okay, I mean, I'll go Pulisic. Fine, Pulisic.
I mean, we'll say they Americanized the name. It was probably Pulisic originally.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I never heard.
America, they'll make it a sick. That's what he goes by.
Regardless, so he's had 2 starts in the season. Take a look at his heat map, though. He's been kind of all over the place, left wing, right wing, a little bit of right back to me. You can see versus Southampton, he had 5 tackles, 3 tackles, 1. So I just want to point out this is not where we want to see him. We want to see him in the attack. So for those that really want Pulisic on their team, I'm gonna have to tell you, not quite yet. So Chelsea, another thing I want to point out is Chelsea had 3 goals and Pulisic was not a part of any of them. They failed to score in the Champions League today. You can see his stats. Really, just he had 2 shots in the box, but no big chances in Southampton. No shots against Sevilla, and only 1 key pass. So it's just kind of. I know we're all excited about Pulisic coming back, but just kind of. I'm not sure how Chelsea's attack is going to be, especially now with Ziyech too, possibly getting a start sometime soon, unless Lampard prefers Mason Mount. I don't know, but just hold off on getting Christian on your team just yet.
I think Lampard prefers Mason Mount over Messi, Ronaldo, anyone else you can think of. So keep that in mind.
Okay, Jason, tell me about your checklist.
All right, so game week 6. What are 5 things we can do to get green arrows in this game week? Number 1, Spurs attack is essential. Whether you want to get Kane or Son or both, I would recommend getting at least one, but a double up is probably a great idea as well. Number 2, for your captain choice, I'm personally going to Salah this week against Sheffield at home. But other options I think would be Kane and Son are pretty good against Burnley, or Sterling or Kun Aguero against West Ham, who historically City always beat up on. One note with all these captain choices, they all have European matches this week and next week. So keep an eye on that, their minutes, and any possible injuries before making any choices. We're hoping rotation doesn't happen, but just keep it in the back of your mind. Number 3, mentioned a lot of times already, but invest in Villa, defense, midfield, attack, whatever you want to do. I would get in on this team if you can. Number 4, when you're making all these upgrades in your attack, how are you going to afford it? The new 4.0 defenders that are enabling this. We mentioned them earlier, Kilman and Stroik. And number 5, kind of one of the big moves going around is it time to downgrade Trent Alexander-Arnold? Obviously, you did that in your wild card to Robertson. If I was on a wild card, I would probably get rid of him, but I'm not, so I'm staying with him for now. But I think if you want to spread that money around your team and kind of improve everywhere else, that's probably a good idea to do that right now.
Mm-hmm. Let's say you can only pick one attack. Do you have a preference, Kane or Son?
And I don't know.
It's too hard. Yeah, I'd say it's too hard. Guys, just kind of whatever fits your team more. Go with one or the other. I'd lean
I will say
Kane.
Right now, I think there's more good strikers available than there are good mids, with KDB being out especially. So maybe Son in that regard. But you can't go wrong either way.
Okay, so we're both kind of, you can lean Son a little bit, I lean Kane a little bit. Next thing for my captain, Kane just did so well. It's hard to take the captaincy off him. I know Sterling and Kun. So West Ham United historically not the best defensively, but this season has been a little different. So I'd be shy on them with no KDB And you have to consider that they played another thing we all have to kind of consider is Champions League and the fatigue. So 3 Champions League games in a row, like 3 weeks in a row, is going to cause a lot of fatigue. I think Klopp did a great job. He took off Mane, Salah, Firmino in the 60th minute. So I think Salah will be fairly well rested for the upcoming game. So a good option. And then you also have to think Spurs with the Europa League on Thursday. I don't know how much rest they're going to get. So it's up in the air. I want to wait to see how many minutes Kane and Son play. But it's hard to take that captaincy off Kane. I might probably just keep it on him. Alright, otherwise, yeah, all good points here. Finally, our recommendations. Just speaking to Harry Kane, I mean, as long as he doesn't play a ton of minutes in the Europa League and they win comfortably, I will likely still captain him. Jack Grealish in Villa, I think he's the best. I know Jason had Martinez the best option. I agree with that. I wasn't thinking about him, but I think Jack Grealish is going to be your best attacking option. So for sure for me. And then Ben Chilwell, a little bit of a wild card player here. I didn't want to give you all the well-known players. I want to throw someone a little different. Chilwell, we saw Chelsea. Mendy's back. Thiago Silva's back. Clean sheet against Sevilla. He's been having plenty of attacking returns this season. Plenty of chances created. He's had been on some set pieces. So it looks like a good options for me. Jason, how about yourself?
Number 1 has remained number 1 for me all season, Mohamed Salah. I think with Liverpool's defensive issues now, possibly scoring even more goals might be on the cards for that team. And if that is the case, Mohamed Salah is the number 1 beneficiary, with Sadio Mane a close second to him, but still, Salah is on penalties as long as Milner is not on the field. So for me, that's the what really edges it for him. After that, like we said before, I can't decide between Son or Kane, so I'm just going to list them both. I think these next 4 game weeks, they have some great fixtures. They're in great form. It's just hard to overlook them right now. Like I can't in good conscience list Ben Chilwell or Jack Grealish over Son or Kane.
All right. A little bit of rib.
I know I have some pretty basic recommendations, but sometimes you just had to go with the best players, even if it's not hip or cool.
I mean, I agree with all your players, and I have them all too. So
yeah, they're all on your team.
Yeah. All right. Quick shout out to our league. Brendan's retains that top spot, and then Phil Sorcerer stays in the top 3. I've moved up a little bit with that wild card placement. So big shout out to Brendan and Phil. I think that just about wraps it up for this episode. Jason, any final comments?
Yeah, I'll say I'm lurking outside the top 10 right now, but I think I'll be in there soon. Mm-hmm. So, I'll get my name on the screen too. Don't worry.
Obviously, you still have all your chips in play, so that's a big thing is that wild card. Do you know when you're going to play it, or you still don't know? You're still thinking about it? Yeah.
My thought is I'll save it until I have, more than 4 moves I feel like I need to make immediately.
Okay.
Or if like a double game week gets announced at some point, I might want to make some moves for that. So I'm just going to keep it for now with no real thought until, situation really presents itself.
Again, guys, check out if you guys are playing UCL Fantasy, check out our videos on that. We're going to be having consistent match day content for that. And if you guys appreciate the videos, please give us a like, comment, subscribe. I think that's all for now. Take care, guys.
Yep. Have a good one.